Iburu, Iboya, Ibu, everybody in Cyberland. It's your favorite Babalao. At least I hope so. Omo Odun Odileke coming up with part 2 of Egguns. Before I begin, again, thank you all for joining. Thank you all for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Great content. A lot of content. You just got to hit the video tab and you'll see tons and tons of content that I've been working on over the last couple of years. Also, don't forget to give me a like and leave comments because I love comments. I like responding to comments and I like to hear from you all. And at the end of the day, if you want to shoot an email because you want to be a little bit more personable, please do so. Please do so. la.regla.de.ifa@gmail.com. That's la.regla.de.ifa@gmail.com. La.regla.de.ifa@gmail.com. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. Okay, so before we spoke about Egguns, we were talking about the aspect of why Egguns are here and why the old saying of, that the dead births the orishas. There's an old saying que los muertos paran los santos. You hear that a lot, and you hear a lot of that from the elders in different shapes and forms, right? Now, what does that mean? We touched on a little bit on the last video, right? They had to walk this earth in order to understand. And when they walked this earth, they had different characteristics. And when they died, and then when they walked the earth again, there was always a different pathway. And because of that pathway, or because of the 200 followers that came down with every Orisha, and they came and they died, and they had different personalities and traits, is how we're able to do the Ocha ceremonies that we do today. Without getting into any secrets, that's what a lot of that framework, when we talk about lo muerto paran los santos, that's what it means, right? So that's a little bit of that. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit more specific because I explained a lot of that in the last video. I wanted to talk about Egguns, but now I wanted to kind of talk about it in a different aspect, specifically the do's and the don'ts and the whys, right? Some of the do's that I think is very important is going to be, always remember that whenever we do any ceremonies or we do any initiations, Eggun is the first. We give to the Egguns to give thanks. Because of Egguns, we are able to manifest and understand things in many different angles. We're talking about knowledge and wisdom that dates back to the beginning of time. We're talking about the aspect of our philosophy where Orishas, divinities, came down to the earth, lived and walked as men, and died in order to understand and to order to better assist Olodumare God with creating the harmony and the peace that he wanted the earth to be and how he wanted his children, mankind, to live. So we begin to understand that and we begin to unravel that concept a little bit. So again, before any ceremony initiation, we always give thanks to the Egguns. Anybody who knows me, who has contacted my house, my ile, my wife and I, they know that the foundation that I always provide and I always explain is you need to be right with the Egguns first. You need to give honor and respect to our ancestors first. You need to be very humble. And after that, give you some books to read, some literature, because the Egguns are important. Your knowledge base is important in order for us to harness the true power that is our faith. Okay, so with that said, another misconception that I want to make sure that everyone is understanding. When we talk about Eggun, we are talking about something that's very generic. That word encompasses everything because there's all different types of Egguns of all different walks of life. We talk about Egguns from different cultures. All right, when we talk about different cultures, we could be talking about Aztec, we could be talking about Central American, the Santa Muerta I've heard many times. Buddhas, Indians. We're talking about Congos, right? Africans that have died. A lot of different Egguns are represented in the realm of Egguns of all different shapes and sizes, colors. It doesn't matter. Diversity to the ends of time. Because Egguns don't discriminate. So please understand that death, which is Iku, is just that, right? A divinity sent by God in order to ensure that the cycle of life continues. That's one. Two, everything else is Eggun. No ifs, ands, or buts. All right. So, with that said, in the topic of Egguns, I just want to make sure we differentiate Egguns and Iku. All right. We need to treat Egguns with respect, just like anything else that you have. For those who are crowned and are babalochas, yalochas, olorishas, santero, santera, whatever you want to be called as a title, a babalao, you treat the Egguns, specifically in this case, your bóveda, or a spiritual altar, or a teja de Eggun. You treat all those things with respect and with a lot of harmony. All right? Specifically, when you're dealing with bóvedas and altars and things like that, that's the reason why we try to tell people to put it somewhere centralized in the house. Not the teja, but the bóveda and the spiritual altars, they go inside the house somewhere that's outside the bedroom. It can't be in a bathroom. Why? Because what do? We change. You have intimacy in bedrooms. You have to be able to maneuver those things in order to ensure that the Egguns are good. Why is that important? I just told you, diversity for days. Egguns have personalities. Egguns were people. So we need to treat them as such and respect them as such. So please, lesson number 2, right? I told you, differentiate between Iku and Egguns. Boom, you understand. Lesson number 2, respect the Egguns. Understand that Egguns are everywhere. Everything's done a certain way for a certain reason. So we need to make sure that we walk that. The other big thing is understanding that the aspect of a service. Well, before I go into the service, I want to explain something, because there's something that has bugged me a couple of times now, and I think it's important to mention, and that's the teja de Eggun. You notice I said, there's different ways of representing and attending Egguns, a bóveda, a spiritual altar, or a teja de Eggun. If it was up to me, or santeros, santeras, right, or babalocha, or ialochas, babalaos to a certain extent, depending on what they have and don't have, should all have a teja de Eggun. You should all go to your godfather and you should go talk and you should say, hey, should I get a teja de Eggun? I think it's very important. But your godfather will be able to direct that traffic. Specifically, a babalao godfather. Because everybody should have mano de orula to understand if a teja or your links between the Egguns, do they need to be consecrated? How do they need to be better solidified? So teja de Egguns. Specifically, teja de Egguns live outside the house. Right? They live in the patio, they live in the backyard, by a tree, whatever. But they're typically outside the house. Nowadays, we got apartment buildings, we have people who don't have patios. So then what you do is you put the teja de Eggun somewhere where it's in a shadow somewhere, but its energy is not radiating everywhere. I've seen it done in many different places. Different houses do certain things. Specifically, I've seen people wrap it in white cloth and leave it under the bóveda. Beautiful idea. I've seen people put it underneath the sink because it's cold, it's dark in there, and there's not going to be bothered as much. I'm good with that too. But just remember, you treat that teja like if that was a human being, that was a stranger coming into your house. Right? You're not going to change in front of them. You're going to respect them. You're going to show them, good hospitality at the end of the day. I want you to treat the Egguns as such. Okay? Then when we go into Egguns and what do we offer Egguns, when we get into how do we service the Egguns, if you have a teja de Eggun, then this applies. If it is a bóveda setup or an altar, those are two different things that require a different level of attention, a different level of how do I cleanse a bóveda, how do I set up a bóveda, how do I pray on a bóveda. Those things are different, okay? But for those who have tejas de Eggun and are going to go outside and attend the Eggun, mafara fun Eggun, good on you, okay? So mufuribale to the Egguns that accompany each and every one of you. The teja de Eggun, or outside, is where typically you have seen where people have made patterns of half circles that kind of close between two walls, right? So basically a corner and a half circle, and you see 9 lines. You see a teja in the middle, which is kind of like a clay tile piece of a home or a roof or shingles in the south. And typically there's oduns of Ifa that are marked on there, right? Some have 1, some have 2, some have 9, but it doesn't matter. The teja de Eggun is there, but you attend them, and typically there is a no kidding solid way of giving things, which is where you want to make sure that the element of water is there. So you give them water with sugar, you give them milk, you give them rum, you give them coffee. All right, you give them a tobacco, you give them bread, and to ensure that you complete the cycle of 9, put some juice, put some wine, put something else. But there's certain elements of things that you want to represent because that is the key. All right, that is the key of attending them. The same way they're not going to go hungry, the same way you want them to help you so you don't go hungry. Because there's so many diversities of Egguns, we put a diversity of treats. It's simple, but we always got to remember to give the Egguns their place, okay? Always serve them first before any ceremony initiation. You know the difference between Iku and Egguns. Now you know Iku is a divinity and Egguns are the spirits, all right? We know now that we need to respect the Egguns. Bóveda, spiritual altar, teja de Eggun, and we make sure that we manage that properly, which we need to seek the guidance of our godparents. We also need to understand that there is an element called efun, cacarilla, crushed, dried up eggshells, right? It makes a nice white powder. That is an element that we use in front of bóvedas, altars, and in front of the teja in order to clean ourselves and give ourselves the ability to cleanse and let the Egguns take our problems so that they can better help us, because the Egguns want to help you. But you got to be able to accept that help. So, with that said, I left you guys with a couple of nuggets of information in Cyberland that I really want you to take to heart. I want you to understand that if you are in this faith and you're just starting, a glass of water, flowers, and a candle will take you a long way of beginning to build your spirituality and begin to build that foundation of this faith. When you're ready, then you build yourself a bóveda. When you've moved up from a bóveda, then you're probably ready to receive your warriors, your mano de orula, and it's added responsibility on how you need to do that and how you need to receive it, attend it, and utilize it. And after you're done with that, you see, based on your sign of mano de orula, where do you go from there if you want to continue to go, or maybe you're good just the way you are. A lot of those things need to be known, and it's very important for you all to look for some form of consult with a babalao, preferably. If not, then see what the orishas are talking about. See what Elewa is talking about when the babalochas and the alochas throw the caracoles, the shells. But learn and see what is it that we need to do next. And hopefully I gave you a good understanding of the Egguns. This is a part 2. And with a part 2, there should be a part 3, but this may be my last one on Egguns, because there's many other topics that I need to continue to cover. There's a lot more information out there that I want you to all be in tune with. But with this said, hopefully this was informative. Hopefully you have subscribed, give me a like, shoot me an email. No matter what, always here for you all. Hope you enjoyed the content. And with that said, my wife and I are always standing by to help where we can with consults or whatever you need. Let us know. Iburu, Iboya, Ibucheche, Cyberland.